Do a short little talk from my bedroom floor. um, Can do a little short one because I need to get to bed. Once again, but I wanted to share it. So I was reading through First Samuel, and I'm reading through it's chapter 5 through 8. So basically, it talks about the Philistines have taken the Ark of the Covenant, um, and basically bad stuff starts happening. And so everywhere they go, the first thing that happens though, this is kind of a big piece of it, is that there's a statue of their god, of the Philistines god, and or king, and its name is Ashdod. And basically the statue, but I think it's, anyways, it crashes, and because God is dead, because the Ark of the Covenant's there, and so God brings the statue down, and then basically the whole thing is this giant statue is completely destroyed. And so it's interesting because then as they move the Ark of the Covenant around the Philistines area, plagues start happening, bad things start happening to the people, and basically God is like, he's like, okay, you're causing problems. I'm going to give you a sign. I'm going to prove to you that like I'm real. I'm the real deal. Like all these fake made up gods that you've come up with, they're nothing compared to me. And so I just think that that's like super, it's just super cool that God was like showing up. And also it's kind of it, like showing himself to the Gentiles. Um and it talks about that in that um right before um they bring it back to Israel, um they tell him, I don't know who tells him, but somebody, Samuel probably, is like, hey bros, like don't be like Egypt, where you had where the Pharaoh and the Egyptians, their hearts were hardened, and they were shown the signs. They were shown that God is all powerful, that there is one true God, the God of Israel, and that He is there, and that good things happen to the people who follow Him. And you can't you as human, we as people can't stand against God. Um, and kind of this promotion of like turn away from what you're doing. And so that's, I think that's really neat because like I think it's easy to be like, oh, God was only looking out for the Israelites. I feel like sometimes I feel like that's what I got growing up. Like that's kind of how my view was, but that wasn't what God was doing. God shows up here. He showed up to the and showed, he was showing everybody in the area. He shows the Assyrians and the Babylonians later, and he shows and he showed the Egyptians, and now he's showing the Philistines that the like, and then they end up, um, so then Samuel tells them to basically to do an offering and stuff. And so the key piece about that one is like, even though they don't know how to pray, even though they don't, this is new for them, and they've never offered to the one true God. God gives them a tool. Like he through Samuel, he's like, no, this is how it's gonna be steps. Like their steps are given. So the way is shown. Even though they didn't grow up with it, even though they didn't have that, God doesn't leave them hanging out to dry, being like, figure it out, figure out how I want things. It's like, no, he's like, okay, no, this is the exact way I want it. Um, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how it is. I'm not gonna leave you out to dry. Um, and then the people got healed after it returned after and all the ark went back to Israel. And so I don't know. That was just really cool. And then it kind of connect. And then unfortunately, the Philistines clearly don't. Somebody, the Philistine area doesn't hold it up because then they attack the Israelites again later, many years later. I think it's probably years later. I don't know. I didn't see a time. Um, but basically, the Philistines come and they're going to attack. I think it's probably around the same time. I don't know. I think it's anyways. The timing does not matter. What matters is this is the timing does matter. It does. But not in relation to what I'm talking about. In so the Philistines end up attacking them again, attacking the Israelites. And so God creates this, and while they're praying, they're like, "Hey, we need, protection over the Philistines." And um the Philistines are like, "Oh, all this," and it says they thundered. And so it made this such a loud booming sound that they got confused, and then the Israelites won. And so I think the key part about that was like God didn't just like stop the Philistines. He confused them to where the Israelites were able to go into battle and do it. And that is kind of a proof of how God works. Is it's not like he isn't just we don't just sit around and do nothing. He wants us to be an active part in his plans. And so sometimes that means stepping out and being willing to fight. Be willing to fight the enemy. And then yeah, and then the last part kind of that I was reading is them asking for a king, and Samuel straight up tells them, he's like, what you want is like, instead of having me as your king, instead of showing that the world doesn't need a king, it needs God. Instead of that, um, the Israelites don't want it, and God tells Samuel to tell them that like, okay, but it also means that you will see that having a king is not the right way, and you're going to unfortunately there's going to be I'm giving a messed up man the authority, and to show you that like I am in control, that the true king is a heavenly one, not a man. Um, you don't need to be like the rest of the world, but if you're gonna be like the rest of the world, you're gonna see what it's like for the rest of the world. You're gonna see that it's not good. Um, but then they'll have, there will be good kings, but this he's showing that these people specifically, and it's gonna be through Saul, that yeah, it's not gonna be necessarily a comfy thing. Like what you want is not good for you, but I'm going to give it to you because you are asking for it. This is what you want. You think you know best, and you won't relent, and therefore I'm going to allow you to have what you want. To seek that desire, and I was reading in James yesterday about the idea of desire and sin and like how it builds, and like this is a perfect example. It's like there's this want for king to be like the rest of the world, and so sometimes God lets us so that we can see, oh my gosh, like this is not, we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. But yeah, so that's what I learned today. Um, Kind of a short one, much shorter than I normally do. So anyway,